Let's take a look at how to navigate around parts information on a basic parts lookup, just so you're familiar with everything that's in the parts consists and how to utilize those to find the correct part. So like always, anything with cat, put in the prefix or the serial number of whatever you're working on. The serial number is going to be the most accurate way to go. So whether it's the engine serial number or if you're working on a machine, do the complete machine serial number. It'll give you the most accurate information. So you can either manually type that in or you can pick from a saved equipment list that should be on WebSys. It'll be your equipment population that you have saved with Milton Cat, and you'll be able to reference that whenever you need to. So in this case, I'm just going to manually type in a serial number for a machine. And then I always recommend you definitely click navigate, the bar right below where it says navigate. And that's going to do what I call bring you into the machine. So this is a lot nicer than what you had in WebSys. So what you had in WebSys is you would put in your serial number and then you had to tell Sys what you wanted to do from there. So if you wanted to go to as shipped product, you had to click on as shipped product and it would only show you the as shipped product. Or if you wanted to look up your parts by systems and components or product structure, you had to click that selection on the home screen of Sys, and that's the only section you'd go to. And then you were kind of stuck in that spot. And you constantly had to change screens around and go back and forth until you found what you're looking for. Well, the advantage here is it shows you everything on one screen. So here's your as shipped product. Here's some basic information about the machine as well, which is also a new feature. And then off to the left, you have your systems and components. So whatever works best for you on looking up those parts, whether you're going to go through as shipped product or you're going to go through systems and components, it's all right there in front of you. One advantage, especially when it comes to machines, by clicking on as shipped product, and that's what we're talking about here, is it does show you any maybe special configurations or arrangements or options that would have come from the factory. So a lot of times with machines, what you have is a merchandise arrangement or a tractor arrangement or a common arrangement. It's basically the basic version of that machine. And then down below, when you get past all these tabulations, you have your factory options that were put onto the machine at the factory. So in this case, there was a special seat arrangement that was put on at the factory. There was a special bucket that was put on at the factory, and even a special fender group that was put on from the factory that's different than what might appear in the common arrangement. So I always recommend that you look in your as shipped product. Maybe whatever you're looking for, that group number will jump right out in front of you. So let's say in this case, I was looking for something for the seat. I could go right to the seat from here because I know that this is the special arrangement that was used on this particular machine. So if you don't want to go that route and you're just more used to what we're going to call a tree structure, is you're going to look up your parts by whatever system that it was a part of. So that's where you're going to find that in systems and components. So as you scroll, like make sure you read certainly when it comes to an engine or a machine, make sure you understand all of the different components. Certain things you're looking for might fit into several of these, but one is going to be a better option than others. So let's say I was looking for something for that's in the engine. Let's say I was looking for the injector for this machine, the fuel injector. So I'd go to engine and related systems, and then I have subgroups underneath that. As you can see, I have a couple of different to choose from, and in this case, the fuel system would definitely be the best option. So let me open up the fuel system, and they put the injector in this under your fuel injection pump. So I'll click on that. There's my pump. Okay, and there's my injector. So let's have a look at my graphic and my consist. So navigating around in your graphic, obviously it's going to be a picture of whatever you're looking for. And then it's going to call out individual parts of that picture. If I need to zoom in and out, at the top of the graphic, I have the magnifying glass that can zoom out, or the magnifying glass to the right that can zoom in. And then I can grab, if I wanted a finer touch to it, I can move this back and forth, which zooms me in and out. If I need to move this picture around in the frame, I just left click and hold my mouse, and then I can move the picture around. So if I wanted to zoom in and then move this around as I did that, I can zoom right in and take a look at my picture. So the numbers that correlate on your graphic, what that's going to do is it's going to correlate the graphic to the consist. So in my picture, if I click on this number 3 right here, highlights it in green, and then in the consist, it highlights in yellow the description and the part number of that component. So in that case, I clicked on the injector hold down clamp, and the part number for that is a 7C8851. So it works the other way too. If I clicked on, let's say it was the injector itself, so the number 2. If I clicked on number 2 in my consist, it's going to highlight in green and kind of zoom in to where that number 2 is in my graphic. So you can work both ways. In this case, it's a pretty small parts list and graphic, but sometimes this is super helpful if you have a bunch of different parts on the same consist. All right, so let's take a look at our consist over here. Obviously, you have your part number. It's going to call out the new part number, the new part option from CAT. If you have a part, so in this case for my injector, if you have a part that has an alternate part available, so that means a CAT reman part or the lower cost alternative part. We used to call those CAT Classic, then we called them CAT Yellow Mark, and in some cases we're going to call it CAT General Duty. So that's where that information will be listed. So you can see there's this alternate box for my fuel injector. When I open that, sure enough, there's my remanufactured option. So in this case, I can order a 20R0055 for my fuel injector if I wanted the reman injector. Just as a note, that's normally what we're going to stock at Milton Cat. If there's a reman option, that's what we're going to usually keep in stock. All right, just to the right of that, you might notice as you scroll along, there's a green box that says CCR. That stands for CAT Certified Rebuild. So those boxes are more for a CAT dealer technician. If they are doing a certified rebuild on an engine or on a machine, it's just letting them know if you're doing a certified rebuild, you definitely need these parts. Obviously, you're going to need some more parts other than that, but it's just telling you in this group, you for sure need these parts, if not more. So that's all that is. As I also said before, your part number or your part name is going to be listed just to the right of the part number. So a brief description of that part. So let's take a look at this instance here. It lists the fuel injector, and then just below that, you see a little arrow for the 3 O-rings. So you have a little arrow O-ring, little arrow O-ring, and then a little arrow seal O-ring. All that's telling you is if you see that, you can, if you order this injector, these O-rings will come with this part number for that injector. But the reason they're also calling those out is, let's say the O-ring was leaking, you don't need the whole injector, you just need those O-rings. It is calling out the individual parts for that. So that's how you read that. Just to the right of that, you have your consist quantity. So whatever number's called out here, that's how many are showed in your graphic in your consist. And then to the right of that is going to be, if you're building a parts list to ultimately transfer over to order those parts through parts.cat.com, this box here is what I call your desired quantity. So whatever number you have filled in here, and by default, your desired quantity is going to be preloaded up to your consist quantity. So I can add these to my shopping cart from here and then ultimately build a parts list that I can then transfer over and order through parts.cat.com. So that's how you're going to read all of this. All the way to the right, what you have is a info button. We used to call this NPR, numerical parts record. Now it's this info button. So it's a black dot with a white eye in the middle. And it's telling me about any update information or any information pertinent to this part that might be helpful when you're trying to order these parts. So let's take a look at a part that I know updates. Let me go over to the fuel transfer pump. Okay, so in this case, my fuel transfer pump, it's being called out as a part number 3166865. So all the way to the right, if I click that black eye, you can see that that part number updates. It lists at the very top, it lists the part number that I clicked on, which is a 3166865. And then in this center column here that says service part number. So that's basically what I'm gonna call the orderable part number. So that part number does update to a 3887285. As I scroll down, it kind of reiterates that. So you can see right here, 3166865 is in black. The one in black is the one that I clicked the info button for in my consist. And then any parts below that are the newer part numbers, the part number that it updates to. So in that case, it's a 3887285. Any parts listed before that are previous part numbers for the part number that was in my consist. So that's basically how you're going to read that information. That's what we used to call the NPR. It's now just the info button, but it looks very similar to what we used to have. So that could be helpful if you are ordering parts, especially through parts.cat.com. If you go to order a part and it tells you there's no availability on that, just take a look, see if it updates by clicking that info button, and it'll let you know. Certainly, if you get jammed up or a little confused with updates on parts or availability, you're welcome to call your local Milton Cat parts department. We have more resources available on the parts counter to help you with update information or the latest part numbers or even availability. We can look into it a little further than what you might have available to you. So you're welcome to call the parts department to help you through a parts technical lookup whenever you want. All right, let's take a look at something else you might see in a parts consist. So I'll dive into, let me go down to the transmission for this group, which is under the powertrain, transmission. Okay, so anytime you click into a group or an arrangement, some part numbers are going to be written in blue, and as I hover over them, the hand cursor comes up. So all that's telling me is that there's a subgroup involved. So if I click on that, it brings me into the subgroup. Okay. There's also notes a lot of times underneath part numbers. Make sure you read those notes. So those notes right underneath the part number, you see this letter Y. At the very bottom of your consist, it'll explain what that Y means. So you see there's a Y, it just means there's a separate illustration. So if I click into that, it's telling me that there is a separate illustration where there's more parts. So let's say I'm looking for parts in the planetary group. Let's say I'm looking for maybe the sun gear or a planetary gear or even your friction plates. So I'll click into my planetary group. I'll click on that 196-1800. And in this case, it brings me into my planetary. So when you look at these parts over here, just like I said before, a lot of times there's notes. So in this first part here, 8T0106, there's an M. If I scroll all the way down to the bottom of my consist, it explains that in M is just telling me it's a metric part. All right, so some other things to watch out for when you're in your parts consist is your graphics for your consist may be on more than one page. Your consist will usually be, for this particular group, will all be on one page, and I can scroll through as I try to find it. It's all on one page. But you can only look at one graphic at a time. So how do you know if there's more than one graphic for this consist? At the very top, you can see it says 1 of 5. That means I'm on page 1 of 5 different graphics for this consist. And I just have to page over to look at the next page. So what you can do is if you're working on more than one screen, you can pop this particular picture out, or any picture you're on, by clicking this box with the arrow pointing out of it. What that does is it opens it up in another page. So you can look at your two different screens at the same time. Or you can certainly print this out if you needed to. So you have this picture on your desk, and then you can take a look at this picture. So you can look at two pictures at the same time, which might be helpful. So just watch out for that. Make sure that there's not more than one graphic available for this consist, and if there is, make sure you look at all your pictures so you know you can take a look at all of the components for your particular graphic. Now, one other thing I want to point out to you in your consist is sometimes you'll see, as you list your reference number, so your consist reference number is in this column all the way to the left, and again, that's what correlates your consist to your graphic. Sometimes you'll see some of them are stacked up. So if I click on it once, it shows me the first place where number 46, in this case this O-ring, shows up in my graphic. If I click it again, it shows me the next place where it pops up. So all this stacked box means is that number 46 is going to appear more than once in your consist. So if you keep clicking, it shows you all the places where number 46 appears in your consist. Now, as you can see, I did zoom in a little bit on my graphic, and you are welcome to zoom in and out. And if you just want to kind of go to the default view of this consist, you just hit this refresh button, which is going to reset the image, and it zooms out to where it would have normally been when you first went into it. Now there are other scenarios where your parts lookup is going to get a little more intense. I did make another video of how to sort through a more technical parts lookup. Um, and every now and again, you might see an option for a 3D graphic. So what we're looking at here is a 2D graphic. There is another video on how to use and look at 3D graphics if it does offer you one in a parts consist.